Not join me too. Hello, Banjo.
Yeah, hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Please, could you help me with how your name is pronounced? Your first name, is it Nihilolawa?
It's Nihilolawa, yes.
Pardon, please, could you pronounce it one more time? Hello, Nihilolawa. I think network has, okay, probably he's out. Hey, Folakemi, how are you doing?
Hi, good evening.
Well done. Thank you for that beautiful
Oh, it's not,
presentation.
what time of the day? Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So what time of the day is it?
Actually, I'm in Nigeria. I'm in Nigeria now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Right on. So I'm at the Catholic Institute of West Africa, Port Harcourt. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. That's
Sure.
really interesting.
Yeah.
It's good to see
How's
you
it going?
again.
How's it going with the Film Institute in Jos?
Yeah, fine. It's exciting. It's exciting because, you know, we do both. We have the film production aspect, and we have the film studies aspect. So we are exposed to divide. I think it's interesting and exciting.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I should one of these days make an appointment to come visit, you know, just to
definitely you should.
What there is on the ground over there.
Yes. You should come.
That'd be good. All right, I should. I'll stay in touch.
We actually need more visits.
Yeah. Okay. Our network.
Definitely.
I don't know if it's my network or I think it's. We'll talk later. Thank you. Let me get us started on time so that I hope who else is hearing me? Do people hear me? You can hear me. Okay, thank you. Thanks. Sorry, our network was breaking, so we'll talk later. Just want to get us started. So it's 5:30 by my time. I'm supposing we could start immediately, or we give ourselves a minute or two to make sure everybody's here. I think there are 5 people on the panel, and we have 3 here already. Who is missing? Chikwura Isiguzo, I haven't seen him. And then I think Bamidele Olajide, right? Those 2 are not with us yet. We'll give them a minute or 2 and then get started. And in the interim, yeah, we are here. How's everyone doing? So what do you say, guys? Do we get started? Should we go? It's 5:31 so that we work with the time allotted to us, right? Should we wait another minute? Okay, so good to go. All right, so Falakemi is saying we go. Mihi Lolawa, what do you say? And Abdullahi Lawal, what do you say? Thumbs up, we go. All right, I think we should, right? And let me even see, I think, okay, Mihi Lolawa is the first presenter, so we are covered. We'll go with him, and then by the time the others join us, they'll make their own presentations. So we start. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, and also good morning, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Chijo Kiazwa-Usefe, and I will be chairing this LSA panel on Nollywood and Films. We have 5 panelists who will be exploring and enriching this topic from multiple academic backgrounds and perspectives. I don't have much by way of their bio to introduce the panelists. However, I will just mention their names and the titles of their presentations, and then invite them to jump right in with their presentation, starting with the first panelist. I would suggest that the panelists take 10 minutes each for their presentations. Since we are 5, we can't afford to do 15 minutes. And if we do 10 minutes, that would leave us with 30 minutes plus at the end of the presentations for our discussion. And then if any of the presenters feels they left something behind, they could use that time to fill it up. With that said, let's get started. Okay, again, the panelists will go in the order that they appear on the program. So we'll begin with our first panelist, Nollywood Banjo from Bayero University, who is presenting on Islam and cinematic culture in Northern Nigeria, a historical analysis. Banjo, please. Is he still with us? Hello, Banjo. If you're there, could you unmute yourself and say something? Or even I'll put your video on. Let's see.
Unmute that video. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was on mute.
It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Good evening. My name is Nollywood Banjo from Bayero University, Kano, and my topic is Islam and cinematic culture in Northern Nigeria. I'm doing a historic analysis. Yeah, it's a work in progress. It's a research I embarked on not long ago, but due to ASU strike, I've been unable to meet with my FGD group and conduct personal interviews with my interviewees. Okay, so now this is what I've done so far. Basically, the article reviews the relationship between Islam and cinematic culture and film, as the case may be, in Northern Nigeria. And what I'm trying to look at is the reception of film by the Northern Muslim people in Nigeria, especially Kano and other states that are predominantly Muslim states. And so from my research, I realized that various media ethnographical studies have revealed that since the introduction of film and cinema into Kano states, yes, there have been various views, especially from the ulamas. When we're talking about the ulamas, we are talking about the Islamic scholars who are stakeholders in Kano State and whatever events is happening in Kano State. Basically, they work hand in hand with the government to make things happen, either on screen or off screen. And so that is basically what I'm doing in this study. It is the belief on Northern Muslims since the invention of film in Nigeria and even till now that cinema and film serve as harbingers of immorality in their society. This is not far-fetched because everything they do is hinged on Islam and the Holy Book of Islam, which is the Quran, Hadith, and other books that have been written by the ulamas, actually amas or armor on morality in their doings. So cinematic culture, I can say that cannot be compared with what we have down here in the South. From the process, that is from inception. Let me take it back to 1903 when film started in Nigeria. The first film in Northern Nigeria is said to have been produced in 1926, and in Jos, to be precise. It is titled Palava. And it actually celebrates the view of the whites about Blacks, which you can't say is different from the film of the colonial period. Now, bringing it down to 1960, when the Lebanese started coming to Nigeria, especially the Northern Nigeria, for trade, they started coming with Indian films. Now, the first contact we can say, apart from the films of the colonialists, that the Northerners have with film are the Indian films. And looking at Hausa movies, from that time till now, we see traces we see features of Indian films, especially the dance and music sequences that seem to sell Hausa films. Now, producers and directors alike have said that without this scenes, dance and music scenes, their films do not do well in the market. Now, when that started, we realized that the Lebanese were in charge of the cinemas because there used to be cinema outlets in Kano controlled by the Lebanese. They imported Indian films and they showed this Indian films in the cinema halls in Kano. Now, that continued until the drama troops. There's a particular drama troupe, Tumbingiwa, that's what they call them, Tumbingiwa drama troupe. They started showcasing films. They started making films for television and the radio stations. But in 1990, the Tumbingiwa drama troupe produced a film titled Surumindanya. That is said to be the first commercialized film in northern Nigeria. Now, that was in 1990. Surumindanya means the draw. It's about politics, it's about happening in the societies. Now, further along, after 1990, they realized that film served not only as entertainment, it started creating jobs for people. And so in the 90s, producers and directors started making films, and they realized that in Islam, naturally, you can't have a male and a female together in the same room if they don't have any blood ties. That is how it is done. And so even in the cinemas that the Lebanese controlled in the middle 60s, 70s, 80s, the females and the males are not supposed to go to the cinema together. The females, just like in some places as it is done now, you can't go to Hajj. You're not supposed to go to Hajj. You're not supposed to embark on Hajj without a mahram. A mahram is seen as a guy, yes, but one who is related to you, one you cannot commit any form of incest, or you can't have any form of emotional, in that regard, attachment to. And so that is the way it was done in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s in northern Nigeria. For a female to go to the cinema, she had to be escorted by a male. And in a situation where she can't be escorted by a male, she had to wear a niqab. That means covering from head to toe. And the cinema setting even still exists in northern Nigeria today, even in the university system, where we have gatherings of males and females in large numbers. The males cannot sit beside the females. There's demarcation. The males have to sit on one side and the females have to sit on the other side. And these are the rulings that guide the production of Nollywood movies. To them, it's a good thing, but to the outside world, this is serves as a limitation to whatever it is the Nollywood is trying to project. Now, Nollywood, the name itself, was coined in 1999, even way before Nollywood, the term Nollywood was coined. But when the Tumbingiwa group made that film, Turumindaya, in 1990, other people started making films. But there had to be an introduction of Kano Film Censors Board, the Sharia law, because they realized that the producers and directors now have males and females in the same space, even on the same bed, which is not supposed to be done. Fine, apart from the Kano State Film Censors Board that monitors the happenings on screen, the Kano State actually has another board, that is the Hizbah, the Islamic police, that sanctions people, that cautions people and their behavior outside the screen, and it still exists till today, even on campus, even outside the campus. That is the way it is done. So when they realize that producers now have people that is of both sexes sharing the same space, they had to introduce the Kano State Censorship Board that will guide and direct and correct whatever it is the filmmakers are doing. Now, with that, there are sanctions. A lot of filmmakers have been jailed as a result of that. A lot of actors have been jailed. A lot of films have even actually been banned because of that. In 2007, there's a particular actress by the name Mariam Mariam had a relationship outside the film industry with somebody, a lover, who is actually a producer in Kannywood. And
sorry to interject, Nihilolawa.
Okay.
You have
Yes.
2 more minutes, please.
Okay,
So,
I have 2 more minutes. Okay.
Yes.
Now, there's a recording of them being intimate, which leaked. It's an 8-minute long video, and that actually further portrayed the image of actresses as loose and wayward to the outside world, to the ulamas. She was banned. She further went ahead to get married. And subsequently, in 2016, the same thing happened to Rahama Sadao, because she featured in a music video by Classic titled I Love You, just by holding hands and holding Classic by the neck. She was banned. She was asked to tender a public apology before she was reabsorbed back into the film industry, Kannywood. And so that brings us to the question that, okay, when Buhari came into power, he actually proposed to create a film village in Kano. That would have been a very good invention for the people of Kano. But the ulamas stood against it and said, no, from the incidences, accidents that have happened, yeah, they call them accidents that have happened to their actresses, they don't think this is a welcome idea. And so looking at all of these things, we can't really say Kannywood is moving forward. In Nigeria today, if you're talking about awards, the Popular African Magic Viewer Choice Awards that is organized in Nigeria, it's difficult for anyone to even think about any Kannywood movie to be nominated, let alone a director, a producer. And so we realize that the actors who are in Kannywood and making movies actually have to leave Kannywood to other places, and not other people coming into Kannywood to make the difference. And so this are some of the challenges that Kannywood is facing, that religion and culture have really hampered on. And if they do not do away with all of these things, or actually use the knowledge of the Quran and Hadith to create something that will be acceptable globally, I am afraid that Kannywood will be where it is today without any recognition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You're just right on time. Thank you for getting us started, at least with your presentation now, looking at the differences of understanding and engaging cinema in Nigeria North and Nigerian South. Thanks, yes. We go to the next presenter, but before we do that, please may I ask those on participating, those just being part of this, to, if you have questions, please type them in the comment sections. The panelists will take your questions afterwards. With that said, do we have Chukura Isiguzo? Is he with us yet? No, if Chukura is not with us, Abdullahi Lawal. Is Abdullahi Lawal here? All right, so Abdullahi Lawal, please, could you unmute yourself so that we hear you? Unmute yourself. So Abdullahi Lawal is from Alex Ekwueme Federal University. He'll be presenting on language and cultural aesthetics in Tunde Kelani's Koshegwe and Adebayo Falati's Sawo Sogberi. I hope I'm not murdering those names, and if I am, I say apologies.
You help
us later on, please.
You have murdered them already. Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Abdullahi Lawal, as the chair rightly announced. I work at Alex Ekwueme Federal University. Hello. 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 Are you? So, the title of the paper that I am going to present is Language as Cultural Aesthetics. Can you hear me, please?
My apologies. I think my network dropped. So go ahead, please.
Okay. So my topic is Language as Cultural Aesthetics in Tunde Kelani's Koshegbe and Adebayo Faleti's, yes, Sawo Sogberi. Sawo Sogberi. The it is not language and cultural aesthetics anyway. It is language as cultural aesthetics. And my intention in this work is to look at language. The language I'm talking about here is a Yoruba language, rather, to see how Tunde Kelani and Adebayo Faliti succeeded in experimenting with the language, placing it as a symbol of cultural aesthetics, bringing the language to the same level with, the foreign language, which we so much, admire, English, French, and the rest of them. Now, Yoruba film, just like the first presenter, talked about Kannywood, is one of the branches of Nigeria video film. While Yoruba video film is given that title, that name, is because of the medium of expression, medium of making the film, producing the film. And what I'm trying to bring out is to do an assessment of how Tunde Kelani and Adebayo Faleti, use Yoruba language to use it in a modern society. And if you watch Koshegbe, a film now, though it's an adaptation of a play text, a play in Yoruba by Akinwumi Shola, the film was produced, I think, in 1996 or 97. It's an adaptation of that play in Yoruba. Now, the film was done in Yoruba, just like the original text was done in Yoruba by Akinwumi Shola. In the same way, Shawo Shogberi is also a film done in Yoruba language. But what I want to lay emphasis on in this work is to see how Tunde Kelani and Adebayo Faleti use Yoruba as language of enlightenment, language of commerce, language of socialization, and the rest of them. And mind you, there are other cultural elements, cultural activities that represent cultural aesthetics. But I'm focusing on language as cultural aesthetics in this work, because the two filmmakers used Yoruba language as a cultural aesthetics on its own. Their emphasis is on how Yoruba language is used, not modeling the language, not using the language, doing what we call code mixing or code switching. From the beginning of the film till the end, in the two films, there is no single foreign word. So this is, I see these works as experiments by these filmmakers, and in one of the interviews granted by Professor Akinwumi Shola of the late memory, that Yoruba language or any indigenous language could be used to achieve what other languages are used to achieve. And that is what they do in the language. If you watch Koshegbe, for example, Koshegbe is a film in Yoruba, centers on crime in the Nigeria Customs Service. And despite that, the film is addressing modern film, modern issue, modern, activity. The indigenous language of Yoruba is maintained throughout the film. And I see this as a deliberate effort by this filmmaker to make a statement that Yoruba language can be used in the same way we use English, in the same way we use French, in the same way we use other, foreign languages. Throughout in fact, in an interview, Professor Akinwumi Shola, maintained that when the film was in the process, that they were to make a call, and there was a dilemma that how can they make an LO as a word now in Yoruba language. So he said by the time they thought over it, they now said they should replace LO as NLEO. So if you watch that film, I mean Koshegbe now, you can't see them while making a call saying hello. They won't say it. They just maintain hello. Did you get it now? So what they are trying to achieve is to make a statement that Yoruba language as an indigenous language can as well be used to, as a language of enlightenment, as a language of socialization, language of commerce, language of anything, can be used in any gathering. In Shawo Shegberi by Adebayo Faleti again, in that film, it's also a deliberate attempt to use Yoruba throughout without using, English language or French. The film is about jealousy and rivalry among lovers. And despite that, there are, characters in the film that migrate from Europe to Nigeria. They make sure that no single Yoruba English word is uttered throughout the film. And I was wondering when they were, when I was watching the film, one of the actors in the film, in the person of Akinwumi Shola, made sure that in the process of, pronouncing a name, Benedicta, Benedicta is an English name, a biblical name. He made an attempt to convert the name, to translate the name into Yoruba. Benedicta.
Sorry to interject, please. You have two more minutes, but continue.
Sorry. So, okay. Yeah. So he made sure that Benedicta was pronounced in Yoruba language, and he called it, I can't remember now, but he made sure that he translated that word into Yoruba language. So what I'm, trying to do in this work is to examine how Yoruba language, how Yoruba language is explored as cultural aesthetics, giving that language significance of economy or socialization of anything that any language of this modern time, enjoys. And if you watch Koshegbe, if in the courtroom, you see they use Yoruba language. In the hospital, they use Yoruba language. In fact, the words that you cannot expect in Yoruba, they use Yoruba language. They translate so many names of diseases into Yoruba language in that film. So I'm arguing that any indigenous language, not only Yoruba, can also, be explored in any of the Nigerian film strand. Kannywood, the one we do in Igbo, the one they do in Igala, and the rest of them. So this is my argument, that our indigenous languages, not only Yoruba language, can be used in this medium, in this method, because it's a method, just like we have Kunle Afolayan using language code mixing and code switching in most of his films. So this is my submission, and I believe that it's a work in progress. There is always an avenue for us to improve on any research we do. So I believe that this work will contribute, if it is finished, to the bulk of the work on Nigerian video film, whether in indigenous medium or in English language. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for another wonderful paper. And thank you in particular for taking us through the place and use of language. You said language generally, not just a Yoruba language, in communicating cultural aesthetics and popular culture in modern settings. Thank you very much. So I think it's also interesting that you brought a second or another dimension of Nollywood or Nigerian cinema to be on this, okay? And he took us to Kannywood, and now you brought us to maybe what we might call Yoruba Wood for. I'm not sure it's been given any city name yet. For like me, has it been given Ibadan Wood? No, Ibadan hasn't taken it yet, right? And I don't
know that I know of.
Okay, all right. So,
we don't have Yoruba. We just have Yoruba film. There's nothing like
that's
Yoruba
what I wanted to say. Let's just leave it there, the Yoruba film, because it's so to say the progenitor. But now with Ani's actually presentation, apparently Kannywood, even before the scholars are already pointing us to how far back Kannywood dates before the emergence of not really cinema generally, but I want to say of Living in Bondage, which exploded the cinema scene down south. With that said, let's move to our next presenter, Flakemi Ogungbe of the National Film Institute, JOS. Flakemi will be presenting on the trajectory of film adaptations in Nollywood, challenges and prospects. Flakemi, please.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. Maybe the later part of my paper is a little bit, would like to say adventurous or ambitious, but let's see how it goes. So my topic, as we stated, the trajectory of film adaptations in Nollywood, the challenges and prospects. And I'm looking at, the trends of film adaptation in Nollywood, while identifying the challenges and advocating, prospects that may maximize the viability of the medium. So to start, I would first of all look at Hollywood. Yes, you may say, why are there always comparisons between Nollywood and Hollywood and all of that? But well, where did the art from, the cinema art come from? I mean, we could have decolonized it, we could have made it indigenous, but the techniques, the equipment and all of that, where did it come from? So, well, anyway, so film adaptation in Hollywood has largely enjoyed good return on investment. Novel to film adaptations are especially popular and have been considered a safe method of commercial filmmaking, and the viability is usually guaranteed. It's a safe method because it's riding on the success of the source materials, which is usually the novels. And these novels are usually critically acclaimed. So from early adaptations of the novel to film variants, such as Gone with the Wind, made in 1939, with a budget of about $3.85 million, and a box office of $390 million. So the more recent 8-part Harry Potter film series, done between 2001 and 2011, with a budget of about $1.7 billion, and in 7.7 billion in the box office. So we can say that I could say arguably that about 90% of the adaptations done in Hollywood have met with a huge success. There are so many examples, Lord of the Rings trilogy, Graduate, and so on. So it goes on and on. Sometimes the return on investment is about 1,000%. It's phenomenal. So coming to film adaptations in Nollywood now, and I would say that even before the nomenclature Nollywood came into being, the earlier experiments with indigenous filmmaking were actually film adaptations. The Hubato Gumbe, Moses Olaya, Ade Afolayan.
Hello.
Are you still with
Hello,
us?
can you?
Okay. Yes, we hear you now.
My network went off.
Yeah,
so.
sure.
Sorry.
Okay.
Let me just. Okay, so I was saying Ubato Gunde. Oh. Are we together? Okay.
Yes.
So I was saying the Ubato Gunde, the Moses Olaya, Ade Afolayan, they all made their transition from stage to film through the adaptation, pioneer in film adaptations, and he embarked on many projects between 1970 and 1982. Wale Soyinka's Kungiza Vest, which is stage to film. We have Bullfrog in the Sun from Chinua Achebe's combination of two of Chinua Achebe's novels, Things Fall Apart, 1958, and No Longer at East, 1960. We had Ija Minira, which means Fight for Freedom, from Adebayo Spalletti's books. We have Aye, and on and on and on like that. There are so many of them. So one important thing is that during the popular theater, the popular traveling theater period, they had already enjoyed tremendous success with the stage performances as recorded by Viodu Jaifo and Ebu Clark. They enjoyed tremendous success, and the film adaptation were riding on these successes. And it was more like the migration was like because they wanted to reach a wider audience. So we had other film adaptations. Like I said, it's a trajectory, it's quite voluminous, but we have other film adaptations, notably Shehu Umar, 1976, made by Adamu Halilu, the first general manager of the Nigerian Film Corporation, where I work, which adapted a story written by Tafawa Balewa in 1933. We had BC Daughter of the River, written by Patrick Ngozi, and directed by Ladi Ladebo, collaboration between Ladi Ladebo, Javadu, Kola Ogunaike, and on like that. The northern part of Nigeria, we had the Sincere, maybe Nihi will help me with. So this was adapted from a 1950 classical music called West Side Story. I really don't know why that was done, but I know that there have been many remakes of Bollywood into Kannywood in later years. So coming to Tunde Kelani now, Tunde Kelani has experimented generously with the film adaptation genre. Like Abdullah said, there have been Koshegbe, The White Handkerchief, Thunderbolts, and so on and so forth. But there is something that I found out while doing the research for this almost all the people that are interviewed that have watched Tunde Kelani's adaptation were having their first encounter with the film I mean, they have not, they have not never read the source materials. If you get what I mean, they've never read the source materials. Their first encounter was with the film. So as far as they are concerned, it's not exactly a film adaptation to them in the sense of comparison. It's more like an original work. So maybe, I don't know whether this is deliberate with Tunde Kelani, but it lessens the, will I say, because they are original, they are seen as original, it lessens the criticism that kind of beseech film adaptations. So going on now, I want to use B. Bandele's Half of a Yellow Sun as a case study of the challenges that some film adaptations face in Nollywood. B. Bandele's adaptation was met with scathing reviews. The Toronto Film Review stated that the film is diverting, but it's a diverting but surface level saga hit that, true to its title, feels less than whole. That is really, really horrible. And all sorts of favorable reviews would trail the film. And I don't know, in one way or the other, it affected the box office. A film that was made with 1.3 billion naira only made 340 million naira in the box office. I understand that film.
Sorry to interject.
Wow. Huh. Okay.
But since there are just the three of you, right? You can continue. Nia and Lawa would have the same opportunity if they wanted to add something to their presentation.
Oh.
Yeah, since the other two panelists.
So
that's good. Yes, yeah, that's good.
All right, great. So you have, yeah, go ahead, please.
So I have more minutes. Okay, thank you.
Sure,
so,
let's say we'll add another 10 minutes to your original 10 minutes. If you exhaust that, fine. If not, because we have time. Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you so much. So, like I was saying, filmmaking, film adaptation is actually a very tough process because there are so many reasons for this. Take a novel to film adaptation, for example. You have a 300-page novel, like Half of a Yellow Sun, be compressed into 120 minutes of screen time. That is a lot of compression. That's a lot of, and so if you've read the book and you're watching the film, you may say, oh, this sounds like, the movie looks like just a horrid version of the book. So Judy Sander also talks about the snobbery of the book being the older medium. So we tend to feel like the older medium is superior to the newer medium. In this sense, the book is superior to the film. We have a situation whereby the novel is a static art form, while the film is very fluid. The film is incorporating a lot of personnel. You could have a 300-man cast and crew, 100-man cast and crew working on the same thing. Whereas the novelist probably will just sit behind a computer and say what she wants to say. So we could also say that a film is democratic, while the book is elitist. I mean, it's controversial, but you say film is mass media. So is book mass media? That's a question we can ask. But we can, all in all, we say that Hollywood films also go through all these rigors. They also go through all Hollywood film adaptations. Now, they also go through all these rigors. But what makes them different? So Judy Sanders is telling us that the novels adapted into film in Hollywood base their stories on fantasies rather than intellectualism. So are we saying that this is what did not make Half of a Yellow Sun to be a commercial success? That's a question for everyone. So I want to quickly go to the prospects for film adaptation. And this is where the ambition and the adventure comes in. I'm looking at music to film adaptations. Now, when I say music, specifically, I'm looking at Afro-pop. Now, I'm arguing that Nollywood should write on the prevailing popular culture of today, which is Afro-pop. If the film adaptations of the earlier times, the traveling theater, the film adaptation, they wrote on the traveling theater popular culture, why are we not looking at the Afro-pop popular culture? So because, I mean, the paradigm has obviously shifted. I had a chat recently with the Google country manager, Juliet Heimwan, and she stated that Nigerian content is now very popular around the world, especially Nigerian music, and that the statistics available at YouTube shows that 70% of the content watched is on YouTube, Nigerian content, Nigerian musical content is watched by people living outside of Nigeria. And when she said people living outside of Nigeria, she's not talking about Nigerians in diaspora alone. She's also talking about people who are not even Nigerians, who are not Africans, who have accepted the Nigerian music as a vibe, as an entertaining art form. So the acceptance, of course, we've seen the acceptance shown to Nigerian A-list Afro-pop artists such as Davido, Wizkid, Burna Boy, who now hold international musical shows that are sold out. Davido has reportedly performed in 90 countries. Burna Boy and Wizkid, won the coveted Grammy Awards. And Nigerian musicians have been exposed to several collaborations with international music stars, Beyonce, and the list goes on. So another thing is that a friend of mine, and also a member of the LSA, recently made a Facebook post with a video showing us predominantly white neighbors, who partied into the night playing Nigerian songs. A couple of Nigerians have gone to Dubai, and it's not impossible for you to find a Nigerian song playing in the mall, or you take an Uber and a Nigerian song is playing in the Uber in another part of the country, of the world. The president of Liberia, George Weah, and the first lady of Sierra Leone recently, in separate viral videos on social media, were seen dancing to Buga by Kiss Daniel. So the demand for Nigerian music has been on a steady rise and may likely be sustained, as shown in a recent KPMG report. So the prospect that I see is that, riding on the popularity of the Nigerian Afro-pop internationally, the new Nollywood, which has better production values, can ride on these waves by making music to film adaptation, or what you can call Afro-pop to film adaptation. So how can this be done? I know Ayinla was done recently, but Ayinla is not Afro-pop, but Ayinla was also quite successful in this genre. So what kind of music to film adaptations are we talking about? It could be a film about the life and career of a musician, sometimes featuring the musician as an actor. There are several examples in Hollywood. We have Presley of the Beatles, who appeared in more than 30 Hollywood films, Love Me Tender, Change of Habit, and so on and so forth. We could have a narrative film in which popular music provides dramatic or comedic content. Examples in Hollywood includes Grace of My Heart, Still Crazy, Almost Famous, and other biopics like that. We could have the use of songs as film titles. Stand By Me by Rob Reiner, 1986, is such an example. Unrelated tracks can be brought together in an individual career. One can locate them as an opportune moment into a fictional musical narrative. We have movies like The Universe, made by Julie Taymor in 2007, Mamma Mia by Philida Lloyd in 2008, and all that. You could have pre-existing albums, made into films, what they call concept albums. And we could have just the music, text, lyrics. The opportunities are enormous. So what I am saying now is that I'm advocating that, it's good when we do Nollywood studies to say what is wrong with industry and all of that, but at the same time, our films be able to, make suggestions that are, and like the scientists do, for example. So that is the whole essence of what I'm saying. I hope I've not exhausted my new time. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to express myself. Thank you. I'm grateful.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that very engaging and insightful presentation, Falakemi. Thanks. Taking us through the early beginnings of cinema in Nigeria and how adaptation underpinned that, but also bringing us to the current challenges of adapting from one art form to another art form, and obviously your recommendation that we look more into pop, Afro pop, right, and see how Nollywood would adapt that. Thank you very much. Now, just to go back to Nii and to Lawal. Sorry, you had only 10 minutes to make your presentation. I was rushing, just keeping in mind that we had 2 more people that should have been on this panel, and we're asked to have minimum of 30 minutes for discussion. So please, does any of you have more, anything more to add to your presentation? Let's begin from there, and then we continue. So Nii, I see you nod your nod,
yes,
please.
yes,
go
please.
Ahead.
I do have some other things to say. Okay, I'm going to write on what Falakemi has just presented. Before Kannywood started, like the Kannywood that people know now, there's what we call the Kano literature market, that are popularly known for Soyeya. The storyline is Soyeya. Soyeya is what we call love in Hausa. And so most of these filmmakers actually explored that, and they were adapting them. Falakemi's talk now took my mind back to it. I had in mind to talk about it, but because of the limited time I had initially. And so this is what the filmmakers in Kannywood actually used to do. They used to draw so much from the Kano literature market and do them into films. But now, the Soyeya films, the Soyeya storyline still sells very much. But most of them do not rely on the Kano literature market any longer. They just write their own stories and produce these films. But beyond the Soyeya story, what does Kannywood have to offer? That is the question. For anyone who has lived in the northern part of Nigeria, especially the Muslim-dominated societies, you would know that women are not expected to go into certain professions. It's a taboo. Women are not expected, to go beyond a limit. There's a limit to what women can do. Maybe until recently, we have women who are beginning to, go beyond that limit and do things for themselves. But for the average, I'm using average now because a lot of women are going to school, have been enrolled into school now. But what's the ratio of those who are in school to those who are not in school? That's the question. What's the ratio of those who have university education to those who do not have beyond the primary education or the secondary education? And so it is what obtains in the society, that's the Kannywood actually draw from and present to the society, the larger society beyond Kannywood. Because you realize that in Africa, Hausa is one of the most spoken languages. And you see people watching Kannywood movies. They watch Kannywood movies. I particularly do not fancy Kannywood movies, except for one or two. Yeah, there's this particular one I loved when I got to Kano newly. It is Hindu. It's about magic, and I really enjoyed it. There's another one recently, Voiceless, that explored the background of insurgency to tell the story of Salma, a brave girl who fell in love. The Chibok girls, the 200 and something Chibok girls that were kidnapped. So that's what the producer, the director wrote on to create that story. And you realize that a few of those ones, are they really Kannywood movies? Because what characterizes Kannywood movies? Let me say one of the features of Kannywood movies is the language, the Hausa language. Kannywood movies are done in Hausa language and they are subtitled, even though the subtitle is nothing to write home about. A colleague of mine, Muhsin Ibrahim, has written on the subtitle. It's an apology. And if we have people like Professor Abdallah Adamu, if we have Muhsin Ibrahim, if we have this person who has created this Falakemi, the conference we attended last year, that you came to Kano for, yes, Pilaf. If we have people like that who are well learned, who schools, not only in Nigeria, and if they cannot be incorporated into Kannywood, then I don't know what Kannywood is really doing. Fine, really, what is Islamic view of film generally? That is it. A woman is not supposed to be seen publicly. A woman is even preferable for a woman to pray in the corners of a room than to go to the mosque. It is mandatory for men to go to the mosque, but a woman, should pray in the confines of a room. That is to tell you how it is. But things are changing. Women are beginning to go to school. We have female Hausa lawyers. We have female Hausa medical doctors who are doing great. So why can't Kannywood explore these stories? Now, I'm going to tell a personal story. There's a particular village, we call it Tofa, close to the university environment. We took our students there for theater for development, and we realized that in that community, females above the age of 13, 15 are not permitted to go out until they reach, menopausal age. Yes, that is it. And they're allowed to go out between the ages of 2 and 15 just to get a suitor. And once they are able to get a suitor, they go back into their homes. They do whatever they can do. Their productivity should be from the confines of their homes, whatever they call the home. And so between the ages of 15, 16 to the ages of 40, 45, these women are invisible invariably, because that is what it means. So does that mean that no female will be allowed to have an education beyond the secondary level? That is, if such girl children are lucky enough to get into, or to finish secondary education. Fine, we know that Islam's view about women is restricted, kind of. There are some professions that women are not supposed to be found in. Women are expected to engage in more caring roles, feminine, anything that has to do with catering to the family. But beyond that, women are doing things. In fact, I was speaking to Alhaji Abdul Karim, the founder of Kilaf, recently in his office, and it made me realize that some of the stories he produces are written by women. And we don't get to hear the names of these women, because whether we like it or not, they are part of this production force that produce these movies. Another challenge I think the Kannywood have is, I don't know, the inability to make good films. Whatever story anyone can come up with a story, but how is this story produced? How is it represented? I think that is one thing Nollywood has that Kannywood is yet to get a grip of. If the stakeholders, and I realized that there's this rift between the people who are on the field and the people who are in academic in Kannywood. The practitioners who are on field feel that they have all the knowledge, they have been there for a long time. Nobody can just come and say this criticism is on paper. How feasible are this criticism? These are the things I think that those in academic who have the knowledge so far, who have traveled far and wide, should bring to the table and probably have some form of workshop, some form of collaboration with people in Kannywood, even if they're going to explore stories. We have stories of women in Quran. For instance, the story of Maryam in the Quran, the whole chapter dedicated to women. If at all they want to do that, if they want to explore stories of men and heroic, we have people in northern Nigeria who have done great things, who are heroes. We have females who are regarded as heroines. How well are the stories explored? Those are the questions that I think the people in Kannywood and those who are studying Kannywood as on paper should actually look into. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for raising those number of questions on the challenge, so to say, of culture, or even limitations of our culture in the production of cinema. I think we'll come back to those questions when we get into our discussion. Just to give Lawal additional time in case he has something to say. But before Lawal speaks, please may I ask the participants, those who have questions, to please type in their questions in the comment section. We'll bring the questions to the panelists. Please, Do you
Hello, can you hear me?
do you want to add anything more?
No, I want to add, and I'm okay.
Okay, all right.
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, all right. So that said, I think let's just get into the discussion, right?
Yes.
And so far, we don't have questions in the comment section. I think there's just one comment there applauding Banjo's niece presentation. So let me just get us, discuss and talk on your presentation. So we've seen the varieties of engagement and approaches to studying, okay, and even researching Nollywood and Nigerian cinema. So whether we are looking at it from this presentation of the differences of approach in how cinema is engaged in Kannywood and then down southern Nigeria, or whether we're looking at it from the issue of the place of language and the aesthetics of a language in communicating all of this from what Lawal presented, or also whether we're looking at it from Folakemi's perspective of adaptation, just looking at the multiple other forms from which cinema could draw to make its own productions. So I was just wondering if each of you could speak to what you would see to be the most engaging, okay, in your own scholarship, your own study of Nollywood, in your own writing. What would you consider the most engaging aspect of your work, okay? And how do you regard that contributing to the advancement of Nollywood and Nollywood scholarship? Any of you could begin first. Okay, Lawal, please.
Okay, thank you, sir. The most engaging aspect of my work is exploring language. Now, this language, I'm just taking it for granted, indigenous language, as major element of cultural aesthetics, whereby filmmakers would see a need in using indigenous language in the production of their films. And this will not limit the box office of the production. So this is my own, this is the emphasis of my work.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we'll come back to that just when we open it up, but just let's hear from the other panelists. Okay. Thank you.
I would say culture, but now in Kannywood, culture is Islam, culture is language, and culture, as we know, is the way of life of the people. And so I am of the opinion that if the Hausa people will present their culture, fine. We know that a lot of people have biases against Islam and how it is being practiced by people who practice it, especially extremism. We have Islam being associated with extremism and anger and all of that. But Islam itself, as I have been made to know through the books I've read and the Quran itself, is not it's not supposed to be practiced the way it is practiced. So I am thinking that if Kannywood can actually, present, if they can be conscious of their of the larger society, Africa, beyond Africa, if they can be conscious of it and present their culture, whatever it is they want to sell, in a more acceptable manner, I think that Kannywood would soar. That is it.
All right, thank you. Follow Kemi, please.
Thank you very much. Well, I've always had this fascination with, will I call it Nollywood business or film business in Nigeria? Anyway, you swing. So I've always had this fascination with film business. I believe that Nollywood is waiting to break out, just like the Afropop has already done. I mean, I know that yes, Nollywood has moved around. It has serious influences all around Africa. I mean, I was speaking to someone from Kenya the other day, and she was telling me that many Kenyans wear Nigerian clothing proudly, and some even say it's their national costume as a result of influences with Nollywood, Africa, and all of that. But we also need to start looking at how our film industry can actually cash out of all these influences. And one way to do it is to look for films and influences that are let's say acceptable, or what's the word to use now, that's cut across cultures, that are relatable. We have to look for a way of presenting our stories to the world in such a way that they would buy us. They will rush us, like they said, rush us like you eat Indomie, sort of. So now, and I also think that our film scholars need to also engage more with the industry. Now, when I say engage more with the industry, I'm not talking about just engaging with the hope of just as researchers, okay, let's just get our data and go. There has to be a kind of feedback mechanism too, so that when you get the data and you've worked on the data, there's a way you have to, you don't have to keep those data, keep your analysis in some journal somewhere that is passworded, that nobody can access. It has to be brought back to the industry so that it can impact the industry positively. And it has to be broken down, I mean, in a language that they can relate with. It can't be a scholarly language in that sense. So there has to be like a bridge. I know that several multinationals are already doing this. I know KPMG organizes roundtables with filmmakers from time to time. I know that Google had an event last month where they brought in content producers, filmmakers, and all of that for a roundtable. I believe that scholars too need to do that. I know LSA has been doing a lot of this. LSA has been bringing the town and the gown together for very engaging and practical is very important, practical discussions. So it's not enough for us to just step back and be criticizing, oh, they didn't do this well, they didn't do that well. We need to engage them, intellectually. We need to engage them and make them to begin to see possibilities. There has to be that intermarriage for the industry to actually move forward. So that's my intervention. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you again. I think there's a question on the chat panel. Trying to let's focus on. So it's for probably the magic of visual technology. All right, so it's for Niniola. I said, why Kannywood? Why not Nollywood? What distinction does that make? But we'll come to that. So please keep that in mind. We'll come to that. I just wanted to ask a follow-up question, okay? I like what you said, Falakemi, that researchers should engage more with the industry. And that also actually touches a similar comment that Nii made when she said the book people. You were talking about like the book, those who read it.
Yes.
Sure, I didn't.
Critics.
Obviously, I understood that within the context of scholarship, right? And not like the book people of the religion. Or that. So whether we're looking at it from the aspect of indigenous language, okay, going back to Lawal's first intervention, or whether we're looking at it from the aspect of culture. At first, when he was presenting, he said some people within the Kannywood, should I say, space of influence consider cinema as harbinger of immorality. Okay, so what we are looking at, excuse me, what we are looking at it from the aspect of indigenous language, or from aspect of language and culture. In this case, language being the Hausa language, and then or religion, the religion of Islam. Whether we're looking at it from the business, I like that. You know, the Igbo person in me wants like me talk business and say, here we are talking now. Okay, whether we are looking at it from the business perspective of it. All right. So even though Falakemi has spoken, okay, to how this could be mitigated, okay, this challenge, but I was wondering if each of you could speak more on how to engage, okay, this challenge, okay, what we may call the dichotomy, okay, between the industry and the scholarship that articulates this industry, that studies it and then writes about it. What ways, because here we are engaging it as academics, right? What are the practical things the book people need? What are the practical things we will do, okay, to come in to bring all of this knowledge that we have, all of this, I may say, depth of analysis that we bring to bear? How do we bring it now to begin to bridge this dichotomy that exists between the industry and the scholarship? Any of you can begin, please.
Okay. First off, I would like to say that it is different. The dichotomy is different between Kannywood and mainstream Nollywood. Because when you're talking about feedback, when you're talking about engaging, we have more of that in Nollywood. I've participated in Afrif Online, where people from outside Nigeria flew in to be part of it separately. It is different with Kannywood. And I would say that that's one of the limitations and challenges I've spoken about. Now, when there's this program, there's this event that is organized, it can be likened to Afrif. That's the killer. The organizer invited people, practitioners, and I can say that maybe not more than one or two of them actually showed up. That wasn't the first time he was going to invite them. That wasn't the second time he was going to invite them. But I think that opinions have been formed, ideas have been formed, especially in Kannywood, which may be a lot difficult to change. Because before you can change a people who have formed ideas, then I think you must, one, be part of them. Two, you must have been doing what they have been doing. That is, you must be a practitioner and you must be a critic. I think by relating with them, by going on field to see what they do, and probably trying to change things, you know, it has to be in stages. It doesn't come like that. It can't, not even in Northern Nigeria. That is it. Not even with, I don't want to sound this way, but I won't say that I would want to use this word, a rigid society. And so you want to thread softly, you want to thread carefully if you're in such an environment. It is different with Nollywood. We see practitioners coming together at LSA, we see them at Afrif, we see them at other events organized, but it doesn't happen in Kannywood. And so in such a situation, how do you begin? Maybe feedback when practitioners make film, but it has to be in conjunction with the critics, people who are in the classroom, people who write these things for people to read. It doesn't just happen. And that is going to even take a very long time to do. Because we have Professor Abdallah Adamu, who has been writing, who has been relating with them for so long, yet these things have not changed. So how do we begin? I can't say I have a solution to it, but what I can say is relating with them, because those people will not come to the academics, they won't come to the critics. The critics will have to go to them to start to implement this change and start to talk to them gradually and start to, do things with them. And I believe that by example, when you do things with these people and they see the outcome, they would want to do it your own way. Fine, ego would be there the first, second, third time. But by the time you persist and they are seeing changes, definitely they will come down, want to do a merger. I remember a workshop I attended, Professor Ekwazi was there in Kano. It was with World Bank. And, you know, I was marveled at the number of practitioners that came. People who have been practicing. This guy, the producer of Karangiya, was there that featured Aki and Popo. I think that is the first time an external, probably a mainstream Nollywood person would feature in a Hausa film, Karangiya, where Aki and Popo, you know, their father married an Igbo woman and they had to go to the north to live. I think after that, we have another one featuring Mr. Ibu. You know, apart from those ones, I have not seen any other mainstream person featuring a Kannywood movie. Rather, they are leaving Kannywood to feature in Nollywood movies because they know that is what is good for them. We have the likes of Ali Nuhu, we have the likes of Raham Asadao, and, you know, and these people, especially Raham Asadao, has been one-time sanctioned, has been contaminated, you know, having a bad influence because of the video she did with Classic in 2016. And that is to tell you how strict that community is. And so it is going to take a total Muslim. I'm using the word total now. A total Muslim who knows the way of the people and who is ready to go all the way to ensure that these changes are they cannot be enforced. That's it. You cannot enforce it. The only thing that can be enforced in the North is the Sharia law. And that's what they have held on to for so long. And so for that to change, you can imagine, because they don't only have the Kano State Censors, but they have ISBA, who checkmates, you know, activities of people off the camera. It has happened to me once. The house I live, my younger brother lives there with me, and I was away. I wasn't in Kano, and a student who lives with me once in a while was home. And they were ranked, the Hisba people were ranked, and they came home to arrest my younger brother on why a female who is not blood related to us would come into the house to sleep, because the female in the house, was not around. And so how do you begin to convince people in such an environment? It's a difficult task. And so the dichotomy between Nollywood and Kannywood, I don't know, cannot be bridged in the next 10 years. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but that is to tell you how deep-rooted the challenges are. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Before Falakemi and Lawal speak, please, just keeping an eye on our time. We have 16 more minutes, and then we have 2 questions from Ojowo Olusegun Shoyita. We'll come to him. He has 1 question each, one for Falakemi and one for Ni. So please, Falakemi and Lawal, make your interventions, but just keeping in mind the time we have for Falakemi and then Ni to respond to the question, please. Another question just came in, but continue. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm glad we're having the question. So either Lawal or Falakemi could respond to that. Okay. All right, Lawal, please.
Thank you, sir. The way how we can bridge the gap between the academics and the people in the field is to relate with them. Let me use the the phrase of Nini Lolawa, that the book people the book people should relate with the people on the field. Like the practice in my university where I work, we do a lot of practical works, on film. Almost every semester we produce more than 10 films, short films, sometimes 1 full-length film. Now, relating with them, relating with the people on the field, people in town, and selling the idea of, using the indigenous language to make a statement that the language that has been, overlooked for so many decades can be in the same category with any, language of the world. Like I live in the East, one can sell it to our, Igbo brothers and sisters, because what most of us, enjoy doing is to do our film productions in English, maybe because that would get to wider, coverage. But, the films I have cited in my research, despite they were done in the indigenous language, could go, far. So what we can do to break the gap is to relate with the people, the people on the field, to remove these the gap between the academics and the professionals. We do it in our school. Almost every year, we do workshop between the professionals and the academics. We want to take some things from them, and we also sell what we have to them. That if they can, explore some of the things we have identified in the course of our research, that can help, in their production. And some of them are, doing well with us, in terms of collaboration. In fact, there is a project ongoing between AE Funai Theater Arts Department with Nollywood professionals from Eboin and Enugu State before, ASU strike put everything on hold. So this is the way I think, the idea we preach can, get to them, and will break the gap between the academics and the professionals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lawal. Flakemi, please.
Okay, thank you so much. I tried to look through the chat room to see what's happening. I want to thank Odogboshegun for his contributions and for the questions he has raised. Sure. Let me step a bit away from my role as maybe a scholar, an Nollywood scholar right now, to my job at the National Film Institute and by extension the Nigerian Film Corporation, to say what interventions the government has made to marry the industry practitioners with the academia, or with the academia. So on the part of the Nigerian Film Corporation, they usually organize an annual Zuma Film Festival, which brings together, stakeholders. They usually have round tables where people from both divides are called to talk, their interactions, but maybe we're not having enough of this kind of engagement. I know that at the last AMVCA awards, they didn't just do the award night this time around. They actually had a week-long program whereby film critics and filmmakers were brought together to a round table to see how to move the industry forward. So I think these kind of engagements are very critical, and we should have more of such engagements. The government should do more. The private sector too should do more. We should have Netflix organizing this kind of roundtables, especially those that make their money, directly or indirectly from Nollywood. Talking about Netflix, talking about the African Magic roundtables. The government should also do more. As a training institute, the National Film Institute also organized, short courses for filmmakers to come, and it's usually subsidized, but like Sheku said, sometimes the filmmakers don't even want to listen. At the last CAP graduation ceremony, which I had the opportunity to attend, Fabio Dubeni was engaging the audience on this idea of, okay, now who are the people guilty of the filmmakers in the old Nollywood? You could say, okay, they feel they've learned a certain way to make the films and they cannot, they've known it all and they cannot learn new things. But if you say that's of the old Nollywood people, what about the new Nollywood to go out to do courses, new ideas, new possibilities, and not just been stuck in the rut? So I believe that the collaborations have to be ongoing. I mean, we cannot give up. This is our industry, whether we're scholars, whether we're filmmakers, whether we are both on both sides of the divide or sitting on the fence, whichever it is. This is our industry, and we cannot. We have to make sure that it develops, it grows, and the speakers have said, it is very important. It's probably not going to happen the other way around, except there is a referee, so to speak, like the Nigerian Film Corporation, the National Film Institute.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think you've done, the three of you have done justice to my questions, and quickly, just before our time runs out, we'll go back to the questions that Shointo raised. So, Nini, your question is, why Kannywood? Why not Nollywood? What distinction does that make? I suppose it's a question on the name, right? What's in a name? Please, yeah, go ahead. I think you're muted. Nini, you're muted.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry about that. Apologies. Yeah. Why Kannywood? Yes, because I have decided to focus more on Kannywood. A lot of people have been writing on Kannywood, especially males. And apart from Professor McCain, who has been writing, who has written, extensively on Kannywood, I don't think there's a Black woman who is doing any research on Kannywood. And so because I live in Kano and I see how things are done, I think I have picked an interest in writing on Kannywood and exploring it as much as I can. And now when you're talking about what difference does it make, there's a lot of difference, a whole lot of difference in production, in casting, in ideology and presentations. If you listen to my presentation both times, I think I have said it all. Ideology definitely will dictate what you put out to be presented to your audience, near and far. So that makes a lot of difference. If some of us or a few of us will take it upon ourselves to write continuously on Kannywood and give it more attention, more visibility, even though we don't have the resources to go into it. And if we can, why not? A lot of people are doing well in Nollywood. Kemi is doing Nollywood. Abdullah is doing Nollywood. You are doing Nollywood. Shegun yourself, you are doing Nollywood. A lot of people are doing Nollywood. So why not Kannywood? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, follow Kemi, please. If you're okay, sure. So your question is, just to be sure I have it. Is there a question? Yeah, okay. While your point, I think it's actually a comment, but you can respond to that. Shointo is saying, while your point is a great one, filmmakers hardly listen to critics, and some education is needed in that regard for filmmakers. I think it comes to the discussions that we are having already, but if you may want to respond to that directly.
Yes, I think I've actually responded to that. That yes, I agree that it is a problem. Filmmakers seem like they feel like they know. Some filmmakers think they know it all. I mean, just to avoid sweeping generalization, they think they know it all. Like they don't want to learn anything. They've been there. They've won awards, but the truth is that the medium, which is cinema, is ever changing because it's relying on technology. It's relying on technology, and technology changes every minute. So you can't say you've known it all. You have to keep updating yourself. You have to keep abreast with what is happening in the world. I mean, if we say we want Nollywood to break forth and take over the world like Hollywood has, we need to know what technologies are going on there. We need to know what stories we should be telling. We need to know how to tell those stories, how to communicate those stories to the varied audiences and not just the Nigerian audience. So I believe that those that will listen, like, the biblical saying that he who has ears, let him hear. Those that would listen will listen, and those that will not listen will not listen. But we still have to keep on making, creating the opportunities, for engagement, for critical engagement. And like I said, the Nigerian Film Corporation is already doing that. We have some corporate organizations already doing that. The LSA is already doing that. We should have more and more interest of vested bodies, creating sort of opportunities for critical engagement between two sides of the divide. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And I want to, in a very special way, thank the three of you for your brilliant papers and the engaging discussions that you have had around your presentations. Thank you very much. And I believe that the other participants on this panel have also had a wonderful, enriching moment from just listening to the three of you present your paper and then interact, albeit virtually, but through your responses and your interventions. Thank you very much. I think we are at 6:58, going to 6:59. If you ask me, I would say we've done justice to our mandate, but if just to be sure, if anybody just wants to have any last word before it clocks at 7 o'clock, we are fine. But I think we are done. From here, I should actually be applauding the therapy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
But if anybody has anything to add, please do. We still have 1 minute. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
you.
And keep the work going. Keep the work going. Kannywood, Yoruba Cinema, Film Institute. Like I owe you a visit. The center. I should come to the center and visit and do something. Right. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Bye.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you.